is missing. So Craig and 1, 2, 3, 4.
The only thing Mrs. Craig.
Okay.
Greg's the only
Why
one.
don't we get an extra mic? We got an extra mic somehow. I guess we added somebody missing. See, so Craig.
Just a text.
You guys hear me okay?
8:30 to 5:15.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Good.
How are you today, Dan? I'm doing super. How are you, sir? Yes, sir. Mr. Boss person. I had baked doves for dinner. All right. Larry Thompson and I made a deal with each other probably 10 years ago. He doesn't like dark meat at all. I love doves.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love dark.
And so he said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you all my doves if you'll give me all your quail. Yeah. Guess who got the short end of that stick?
The quail.
Yeah.
They had the hornet toads.
How many quail have you killed lately? Oh, there ain't none. That's what I thought. So he brought me 25 doves.
When was the last year you remember hunting quail locally?
It's been 30 years since I've seen it.
Anyway,
Like 80.
I haven't even heard of quail in so many years around here.
Man, in downtown Temple, you could walk around, you could hear Bob White all the time.
You can't now.
anyway.
I think fire ants,
It all-
of course, lots of habitat, but fire ants.
It's mainly fire ants. Killed the,
Red.
they've killed the red ant, the quail, and the
Horny toad.
hornet toad.
It's nice, you can go out to Big Bend and you can still see horny toads and
Yep.
big red harvest ants and stuff like that. And I'm still familiar with here.
And see if it's available in the pool of numbers. Because that's what they tell you.
Hey, Alex, is this recording? Just, okay.
They've had more rain in Big Bend Park in the last week and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Long time. Saw a picture of Terlingua Creek. Half mile wide.
And the whole desert's flooded.
This is the meeting where they get.
Yeah. Why do it in person when you can do it with next door app and all those other things?
Leon Heights neighborhood and homeowners association and all those good things.
I was gonna say, yeah, so you had a good turnout for their tax rate discussion, but I think it was a couple of years ago.
They had more to do with the books.
Yeah. Are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, but
And then come to find out, none of them were in middle school.
Oh, yeah, nobody. They're not in, none of those books are even on the shelf.
Wayne went and checked them out.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on the second one.
My wife, the retired librarian, was
Yes.
It's not the way librarians
Mm-mm.
do things.
No, it's not the,
That's not the way to handle
It's a
it.
generational issue.
here's one of the pictures from Connor's. What
Went
the
away, but I saw 179.
170, yeah,
pictures.
so that was one of them. That's like, I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, you think we weren't doing anything important?
Go
But
up
you would think we're not doing
50%.
anything important tonight.
That's not what you do, it is.
Do I hear 65?
Yeah.
For every person that shows up, lower it.
Yeah,
Minimum amount.
Uh,
You're either doing something right or.
every 10 people
Yeah.
get is a 1/10 on the tax rate decrease.
Yeah, I'm busy, like, so if nobody shows up. One of the reasons we don't have people is because they're before us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Brown Mobile.
If nobody shows up, it's just 1,000 below the.
Yeah, I put it up to the top. Just wanted to see if you're paying attention.
We still have to celebrate. Well, not like that.
Ma'am, okay, I'll give you however long you need. Had to ask you where Lantana was.
It's like, it's out in my flower garden.
That's what I thought. So
I mowed around it some this weekend.
he said it's right next to Denton. Good, how about you?
Well, Daniel, the ACs are going out, the fire panels are going out,
I guess it's that time then.
about that time, all the things.
Yeah, I was talking to Justin Emmanuel the other day. I guess the tri-state company that the monitor and.
Yeah.
I guess they got it. Like, it was Gary and he's been on that.
Yeah, tri-state.
Nerve-wracking, I guess.
Yeah, it is.
Got it.
You got it? You ready?
All right.
Are you ready, Amy? Okay. Good afternoon. I see we're all home folks here, but welcome to the Belton City Council special called meeting for Tuesday, September 6, 2022 at the Harris Community Center. Councilmember Craig Pearson will be participating via video conference from Lantana, Texas. Today's Pledge of Allegiance will be given by the mayor. The Texas Pledge will be given by Joel Guzman and the invocation by Mayor Pro Tem David K. Lee. Please join me in the invocation. Pardon me, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to sit here and with a building with a roof over our heads as we watch showers around. I know we usually complain when it rains and we complain when it doesn't. So please forgive us for all of our complaints, because today we're thankful for the rain, and just pray for cities around, all the challenges that are happening from the murders in Canada to the water situation in Mississippi. We just know that man and governance is a challenging thing for us, and we know that you have it all under control. So we submit to you, pray for your wisdom, and thank you for the wonderful community around us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, David. I also would like to just say our thoughts and prayers today with the families and the kiddos in Uvalde and teachers and staff. I know that had to be a very difficult day for everyone involved. Call the meeting to order. I don't think we have any public comments because I don't think we have any visitors, but I do want to give a shout out to Chief Fontenot and the Belton Fire Department. They had a great event the other day when they donated the 1914 hose cart to the Bell County Museum. There's a lot of history there in the old Belton Fire Department. So I think that was very well received by the museum staff. So Chief, thank you all for doing that.
Did the bank give the release for that? Because I think we were still paying on it.
That bank went bankrupt during the Depression, I'm afraid. Item 3 is to consider minutes of the August 23rd, 2022 City Council meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Hello, Craig. We're glad that you could join us.
That I could. Thank you, Mayor.
Item 4 is to receive a presentation and invite public input on Belton's strategic plan for fiscal year 2023. We're going to hear a report from City Manager Sam Liston. Mr. Liston.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I've presented the strategic plan to you in the past, and we'll run through it just very, very briefly tonight. Ready? So, we have, again, conducted the update of the plan in-house. We went through the themes, and the council and all the staff commented on those, and we chose the theme this year of growth management. Thought that was pretty appropriate given what we saw on the tour and some of the challenges that we're facing, with utilities and other kinds of things. The plan reflects the 7 goals that you see before you. We added service delivery this past year, and we evaluated the 21 goals that are in the plan for this current year, and then we established 22 goals for next year. And you can see some of the key elements that we've outlined. Again, a strong emphasis on growth management, looking at the plan updates that we're doing, the utility plan, the comprehensive plan, and those kinds of things. Looking at our tax base for effective service delivery, that came up a number of times with discussions with council. The TERS plan is going to be really important as we complete the update of that through the city and the county to establish another 20-year plan of that very, very effective tool for infrastructure and other kinds of improvements. Public safety, this is a year for maintaining the strategic needs of the 2 departments, police and fire. Both have effective strategic plans, and we'll be working with them on those. On the quality of life, very, very important to our community. As you can see, and we'll be emphasizing street maintenance, water and sewer, our parks, storm drainage, capital equipment replacement, and then we're doing some studies in the library and the finance building. Economic development, really important. Council has supported the Imagine Belton plan. We'll be implementing that this fall and into the spring, provide some really exciting opportunities for development and redevelopment. And we'll be working with BEDC in all sectors to maximize success. Another item that came up was evaluating our tourism goals. And so we'll be doing that, working with Judy and with the council on kind of what comes next in the tourism area. Connectivity, also really important. A lot of state roads here, of course, as you well know. Loop 121 under construction. Phase 1, phase 2 from the interstate I-14 south to I-35 will be the next phase. FM 93 is in a planning phase right now. Central Avenue Bridge in Yeti Pope Park will hopefully get some renovation within the next couple of years, so that stays in the plan as a priority. The East Central Avenue Spring Street Bridge on the east side of the interstate is also one that's in play, with the possible earmark for funding a new street to open up that area and to provide some flood relief in that vicinity. And then we'll continue to be working on neighborhood circulation in Northwest Belton, what we're calling a Wheat Road extension from Sparta Road North. Parks, of course, you just last time approved the improvements for Heritage Park, and we'll be continuing that work. We've got some grants pending for the Standpipe Park, and then long-term, a new community park in the south area. Our existing facilities in some of the parks are aging, and so we want to pay attention to those and work to improve those and keep the existing facilities in good shape, as well as the new parks that we're building. And then partnerships, really, really important. We've got a activity actually next Saturday that's coming up. The 3 civic clubs, Lions, Kiwanis, and Rotary, are going to be doing a cleanup along Nolan Creek on Saturday next. So again, partnerships really, really important to have maximum effectiveness in the community. And then service delivery, continuing these servant leadership efforts that the council emphasized and continues to emphasize, addressing employee compensation comprehensively, talent attraction and retention. Really need to take a hard look at providing adequate personnel to meet all our community needs as we go forward, and then maintaining the partnerships that help us leverage staff resources. So we've updated the plan for the out years as well as fiscal year 23, and we'll continue to do that and keep the plan fresh. We've had the plan on the website, inviting public comments. And certainly at the September 13th meeting, we'll ask the council to adopt an ordinance approving the 5-year update of the strategic plan. Any comments from the council or from our audience.
I appreciate everything y'all are doing. Customer service that we've emphasized now for several years. I know Mayor Grayson was one of her priorities, and I think it's been well implemented. I got a compliment just today about Matt's department, about the street sweeper, and what a great job they do and how friendly they are.
Excellent.
So I think that there are a lot of folks out there who may not tell us every day, but I think there are a lot of folks who do appreciate what we're doing and trying to continue to improve the quality of life.
I think the emphasis is noticeable, and I think we do hear quite a bit. I think that you've come to a couple of the customer service appreciation awards for employees, and that's really important to recognize them, and it just reinforces the effort to give back to the community.
Questions or comments for Sam at this point?
It's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We have two items under item 4 that we have to take action on. Item A is to consider the water and sewer rates to be incorporated into FY 2023 fee and rate schedule. Mr. Rogers.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Trying to cross the finish line here. Budget items. So tonight is the adoption of the fee schedule for fiscal 23. And so I wanted to walk through, one of those is the utility rates are included in that fee schedule. So we need direction from council on what rates would you like us to put into that fee schedule that you're adopting tonight. So the one that first is water base fees. We talked about this rate study here. Let me do this little thing so I can point. So we talked about this rate study that you see here that goes from 23 to 2027. The base fees for water would be by meter size. And you can see that like 7,700 of our customers have this 5/8 or 3/4 inch even water meter, and those rates in the study are flat for 3 years from 2023 to 25, just in the study. So what I'd like to do is, and I'm recommending that these proposed rates here match this 2023 column. That gives me a kind of a benchmark comparison to the study from this point forward. I'm not saying every single year we'll adopt the rates that are in the study. In fact, what we'll do each year is we'll compare our results from actuals, if you will, to that study. And if we're far exceeding the study, then we can either put money aside in a capital project funds for cash funding projects, or we could adopt a rate that's actually lower than these. But that's this is what we would use this rate study. The proper way to use that is kind of that benchmark comparison going forward. So the rates that are proposed tonight are the same ones in the rate study for 23 for base rates. But we do have some options on sprinklers. There's been some concern about the sprinkler charges. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time. That's just kind of up to you how you want to do this. Well, there's kind of 3 options there. First, we could charge 2 different rates for domestic and sprinkler meters. What the purpose of that is that recognizes that sprinkler consumption is higher than domestic consumption in volume, typically. And the peaking factor for a sprinkler meter is much higher because in the summer months, you'll really have high usage and whereas domestic usage is rather stable. So then that's one of the reasons why you could charge 2 different rates for a domestic and a sprinkler meter. Another option is charging what I'll call a levelized rate for domestic and sprinkler meters. Under this scenario, the rate's the same, but it's higher because it's trying to bring in the same amount of revenue. So you have to charge, in this case, 7 cents higher to all customers as opposed to a higher rate just for sprinkler customers. Another option is just charging saying, well, the same rate for domestic and sprinkler, but instead of charging that higher rate, that 7 cents higher, just bring the sprinkler rate down to the domestic rate. If we do that, we'll bring in about $70,000 less revenue than we would have otherwise. Let me show you some numbers. It's easier to do it this way. So there's 3 options for you. This first option that you'll see, this is what the study says you could charge. And Our current rate is $370 for both the domestic and sprinkler categories. We would charge $370 for domestic, and we would charge $412. Get it to go sort of there. A $412 on the sprinkler customer. So we have about 8,000 domestic customers. And we have about 700 sprinkler customers. And those 700 folks would pay $412 as opposed to $370 for each 1,000 gallons that they use. Under this new methodology, there would be no base charge to sprinkler customers. So that's a win for sprinkler customers. And that's charging different rates for each one of those. The alternative is something like this. Now, this is the study. So you would basically say, to capture the same amount of revenue, which is what this rate study does on a levelized rate, you would charge domestic and sprinkler both $377 per 1,000 gallons, as opposed to this version here where it's $412 and $370 to capture the same amount of revenue. So essentially you have under that option 2, you have all 8,000 customers paying 7 cents more than they would under the first option, and the sprinkler customers paying less than they would under the first option. Option 3 is this one. And this is actually not even in the rate study. They don't recommend this, but I just showed it like this format just so you could see it. Under this idea here, we would charge, instead of $377, like raising that domestic rate by 7 cents, let's just bring the sprinkler rate down to the same $370 to charge the same rate. And that's certainly something you could do. The difference there again is about $70,000 in total revenue, just based upon a typical consumption. So let me show you kind of what this looks like, the real effect when you start putting customers to it. Well, I did a comparison, 1 year usage, July 2021 to June 2022, to find what's the average consumption for like a residential sprinkler. And that's 10,550 gallons per month in that. And I just averaged it divided by 12. So they don't use 10,000 gallons necessarily in the winter, but usage divided by 12 was 10,550 gallons per month for a residential customer. We have commercial, we have industrial, a few of those accounts. For all of those guys, the monthly average is more like 47,510. Also during that time, just to give you some numbers, 683 sprinkler meters during that particular time, and of those 444 of them were residential. And for that entire year, we brought in almost $830,000 from our sprinkler accounts. So what do these 3 options mean to these averages? So what I did is I said, okay, let's just use this 10,550. The way we charge that today is we charge a base rate of $17. And that base rate includes 2,000 gallons of water. So what we would do then is charge $3.70 times 8,550 gallons, because the 2,000 is included in the base. And today that customer would be paying $48.64 for that 10,550 gallons. Under the option 1 scenario, I'm trying to get that to be closer. So under the option 1 scenario, which is $412 instead of $370 even. So now there's no base rate, but this particular sprinkler customer would pay $4.12 times for each of those 10,550 gallons. So it's $4.12 per 1,000. So 10.55 times 412 gets you to this 43.47. So today, just that customer would be paying $48.64. And even at option 1, they'd pay $43.47. Under option 2, they'd pay $39.77. And under option 3, it would be $39.04. For just doing the same thing for the other ones, you can see down here, or for the other guys, the difference in those 2 methodologies, even at 47,510 gallons a month. So what I wanted to then do is take that same consumption and break it down by month. So you can kind of get a feel for savings here. So what we're looking at here is total revenue divided by for each month, specific months, actually. And the blue is comparing the current methodology of a base rate plus 370 and then to, let's see, if we would have charged 412 for that same time frame, what would it look like? Right? And so comparing the blue to the orange, you can see in each of these months that the blue, what we are currently, our current methodology, what we're currently charging, the blue exceeds what it would be under that option one even of 412. Now up here, when you have the higher consumption months, you can see that the savings is not as large. But when you get down here in this winter time frame, you see that there, the delta between the blue at base plus 370 and the orange at 412, the savings is greater during those winter months. And that's why is because we're not charging that fixed base charge in each one of those months. Okay. So even with option one, now savings would be even greater in this option if you chose option 2 or option 3. But even at the higher 412, you can see there's savings to be had. Then this is just total revenue. I mean, this is one of those perfect instances where I'll tell you your mileage will vary. If you, depending upon how much you use and the meter sizes you have at your home, your savings may be greater or less than this here. But just using that on a monthly basis, that's kind of where that landed. Where our real change is in the wastewater side. So you can see that we're currently charging this here $14 a base fee and a $5 volumetric fee. And that goes up each year in the study till we level out here in 2024 of $18.51 and $8.50. So again, this is another one of those where I'm kind of proposing to you that 2023 that's in the study so we can have a base benchmark to go forward. What that would mean for just your average customer over that kind of same time frame, domestic usage, the average was 7,400 gallons per month through a 5/8 inch meter. Then in 22, the customer would have paid $77.98 for water and sewer. Under the option one scenario, an average customer of 7,400 gallons would pay $93.73. If we did option like levelized rates, they'd pay $94.11. So you can see kind of that difference of what that would be to customers' bill. So you have those three options on, well, you can choose anything you want to choose, actually. Yeah, all of these are options. But the particular ones that we're talking about are for sprinklers. Before we moved on to Amy, I guess we need some action here to this, what you determine now goes into her presentation.
When you were doing the math, you said the 4864 was 412 times 85, 412 by 1,000 times 8550. It's not, it's 370.
This 412.
What my question is, if nothing changes, option one for residential accounts, nothing changes for residential accounts, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, this is sprinklers we're talking about. This is only related to a sprinkler bill. Am I understanding that correctly?
2 base bids.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
It made sense, and then I heard more words.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing the graph because that was the big concern is that it looked like we were offsetting more expenses to the sprinkler customers. And when you show this graph, it's very fair. So I appreciate you doing that math and showing that because I think that was a little bit of a hang up is 412 sounds more expensive than 370. But when you graph it, you realize the way we're calculating it's not. Now, like you said, mileage will vary. If you want to do 100,000 gallons, then you're definitely going to be, paying.
That's correct. And also just this is just interesting just because I wanted to show. So if you look even out here in 27, that's a large difference between 572 and 440. But when you do that calculation, you take out the base charge and all of that sort of stuff for the same 10,550 gallons, the difference in the bill is only $5 and change. So even though that's even though that looks like a lot, when it really comes down to what the average guy uses, again, exactly. If they're using 100,000 gallons, you're going to pay more. But that's just.
I think it's a more, like David said, I think it's a more fair way to do it. And it's nice to see the graph where you can understand it better for those of us who are visual learners.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I want to go back to the water base fees again. Explain to me how that, you said 75% is 5/8 or 3/4. I get that. But to the common person, explain to me how this isn't a cash grab at our 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch. I mean, is it still just your first 2,000 gallons? And we're upping them.
So this, yeah, okay, so these, can you see that? Am I blocking
Yes.
it? Okay. So when you're charging by base fees by meter size, I'm sorry. That 12-inch meter puts a ton of demand on our system when somebody's putting in a 12-inch meter and you're having to build all that infrastructure and everything like that. So that's how that's all based upon just some ratio, whatever this person that does this. But one thing that is the base rate. So when you're talking, yeah, the base rate here is for a 1-inch meter, it goes from $17 to $25.25. But that's just that's not per 1,000 gallons. That's your bill goes up $8.25 because it's in the base fee. And so you got these guys, we don't even have currently any 12-inch meters. There's rumor there's one on the way. We have 3 8-inch meters if you want to use real numbers. But in an 8-inch meter, so somebody's bill, if nothing else changed, their bill would go up $500, right? Flat. But that guy using that with that 8-inch meter is consuming a whole lot of water. So
I think what he's asking is if you basically pay to play, right? So you have a 1-inch meter and you're going to pay the 25 and you get how many gallons for
2,000
base?
gallons is included in all those base
That's right.
fees.
So yeah, so what he's saying is, so now you got a larger meter, you can pull in more, but you don't get more water.
Not included in your base.
It's
That's
even,
correct.
even though you pull more water. So
And now, are we
It's-
proposing if you have it now, you pay the new rate next month after we approve this? Or is this only going to be for new permits?
No, this will be in effect for the bills for October usage. So it'll be the
So
bills.
somebody that's been paying 17 a month on their base rate for, I don't know, what size meter? I don't even know. It's a 2-inch, I think.
yeah, probably.
I think the theater is a 2-inch, small. It's
Yeah.
a small gap, but like, let's say if it was an 8-inch, you're talking about $500 a month.
Correct.
So $6,000 a year.
But more than likely, they're using a lot.
Yeah.
Also.
Correct.
And so that 500 won't feel as bad because their water bill may be normally $7,200.
Yeah. It'll kind of blend.
And so it'll be,
And there are very few in that category.
There, 3 8-inch, 8 6-inch, 13 4-inch, 48 3-inch, 276 2-inch.
I mean, it may only be
etc.
3, but who are the 3? Are they huge property tax, sales tax? providers,
Mostly
I mean-
schools and county.
So no.
So Mike, isn't it true that we were really it was an oversight that we hadn't done this years ago and to charge everybody the same rate when they have vastly different capacity to use water? That's not what's done routinely in other cities. Is that correct?
That is correct. So charging a base fee by meter size is certainly kind of industry standard. And so let's back into it this way. So if the fee was $17 all the way, why would not I install a 12-inch meter when I really only need a 2-inch meter? Because there's no disincentive for me to install the proper size meter. I want to install a 12, and when I want the water, I want the water. You know what I mean? And that's what this acknowledges is the fact that, okay, fine, if you want to install a 12-inch, it's going to cost you more. Not only that, we have to replace that 12-inch meter in the future, which is also why you have that difference.
That's part one of the consultant.
That's true.
Figured out that we were not doing what we really needed to be doing.
Yeah.
To meet our cost.
And I'm not arguing against anything you're saying. It all makes sense and it probably should be this way. It just, to me, it's going to be that sticker shock
It will be.
in October when they open that. building.
We have a communication campaign that we're going to have to get out as soon as we get through tonight.
Cause I mean, I think anything up to a 2 inch, maybe a 3 inch. But you kind of start getting past that point, it's.
Well, if
Well,
there's-
what it does, it potentially puts pressure. I'm sorry. We jumped in about the same
Go
time.
ahead, David, you go first.
Sorry. I was, yeah, it's okay. It just, what happens is it may be the financial pressure to decrease the demand on our system. And say, hey, we can get by with a 3 inch, so we're gonna do a 3 inch.
I mean, and I totally see you might not need an 8 inch, but you just want it. And then if you do have a mainline break, I'm sure you can rush a lot more of broken mainline water through an 8 inch than you can a 1 inch or a 2 inch. So.
Stephanie?
I just was gonna ask, you mentioned a communication campaign, but with so few that the larger ones will impact, it might be worth a personal.
Do we will?
Visit,
That's gonna be Matt's
explanation.
job.
That
soon
makes-
as- He's gonna go to the
I
county.
think
and
that
tell 'em.
might make a lot of difference to really explain it. Person
I
to
have a
person.
feeling, yeah. I have a feeling the county's probably aware of that because I think the other cities have already implemented.
You're right, they
rates that-
probably realize that.
Tell them we'll give them a
Oh,
property
it's an
tax break.
oversight for a while.
There you go.
maybe.
They didn't raise it.
Mhm.
Any other questions about the water rates that we have to approve or not approve, one or the other tonight? Do I get a motion can I hear a motion to adopt the water and sewer rates to be incorporated in our fee and rate schedule for the next fiscal year?
I'd make a motion for option 1 on the water, and I think the recommended sewer rate that was given.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt option 1 and the recommended sewer rates as described by our finance director. All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mike. Item B is to consider an ordinance adopting the city of Belton fee and rate schedule for FY 2023. Mr. Rogers and Ms. Casey both.
Mayor and council, here I have that loud microphone again. We made no changes from the last time I presented this. We did consider Councilmember Booker's suggestion about a fuel surcharge. But since we're already capturing our costs and there are so many different types of fees that we charge, it's hard to figure out where that fuel surcharge would fit in. And then with the gas prices dropping now, it just seemed like it wouldn't work at this point. I mean, it's something we can consider for the future, but we don't see a way to fit it in currently. So I can go through these or for you if you want again, or we can just move forward with approving the ordinance, adopting the fee and rate schedule.
We've seen all these, but if anyone wants to go through them again.
Kenny, was there a water one you presented the last time?
Water.
Water fee?
Yeah, well, there's the,
But it's reflecting the rates in the other chart, right?
yes. So we have the water rates that were presented. We'll make sure that the ordinance itself matches up to what Mike had just done. Yes. So, and then we had the meter setting,
Okay.
the tap fees.
Any other council member have questions for Ms. Casey? If not, I would entertain a motion to adopt the city of Belton fee and rate schedule for FY 2023.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the city fee and rate schedule for 2023 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and multiple seconds. All those in favor of adopting that rate fee schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Amy. Item number 6 is to conduct a public hearing on the FY 2022 proposed, I think, that should be 2023.
The staff report shows.
It does.
Because it's here, but it's
The agenda
printed
item
different,
does
it's
not.
printed differently on my.
The agenda shows it as FY 2023.
Okay.
Manager's memo showed it as 22.
I just wanted to make sure that we were straight. conduct a public hearing on the FY 2023 proposed annual budget for the city of Belton, Texas. Mr. Liston.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just like to make a few comments before we get into the budget presentation. Believe it or not, it's been 6 months since we started the budget process. A lot of meetings and amazing how time has flown, but we're, as Mike said, we're getting close to the finish line here. This evening, I'd like to share a few summary comments on the result as we present the proposed fiscal 23 budget and the property tax rate to the public tonight. In the budget and tax rate we're presenting today, the average homeowner in Belton would pay an additional $6.50 per month, $78 for the year to fund essential city services. The cost for these services has risen significantly, impacted by inflation. Belton is committed to being a good steward of taxpayer funds that we've received and that we will receive in the future. We appreciate the policy direction received from the council as we work to maintain and enhance Belton as the premier quality of life city in Central Texas. We discussed that in our strategic plan and certainly is something we're committed to each and every day. Approval of the proposed property tax rate of $58.50 would allow the city to do many things, including reduce the city's property tax rate from the current 63 cents by 4.5 cents, acknowledging the increase in property tax appraisals affecting all properties. Enable the city to pay for increasing costs of municipal operations, fuel, insurance, supplies, building and facility maintenance, public works operations, police and fire, library services, and the like. Allow the city to reach its longstanding goal of $1 million in funding for annual street maintenance as streets age and street miles increase. Allow the city to add a limited number of staff positions to enhance customer service while remaining a very lean municipal operation. Maintain the city's commitment to the compensation study that was implemented April 1 to provide competitive pay for employee retention and attraction while making every effort not to fall behind. It provides a first ever 2% cost of labor adjustment for all employees, funds civil service step increases annually, another first, and funds the opportunity for a merit raise for other employees following an annual performance review. Provide for scheduled funding for capital equipment replacement based on life cycle costs, as well as funding capital projects. We appreciate the opportunity to present Belton's FY23 budget and the tax rate to support it. Finance Director Mike Rogers will present an overview of the budget to be followed by the proposed tax rate. Thank you very much.
Okay. So again, we've been going down this path now. And as we've been having meetings, we've been revising the proposed budget as we go along. And so we did make some revisions since August 9th, the last time that we met. On that night, City Council proposed a budget, a tax rate, I'll get it right in a minute, of 58.5 cents per $100 of taxable value. So we've adjusted the revenues in the general fund and contributions to the TERS fund accordingly. We added $40,000 to the TERS fund budget for the Imagine Belton plan implementation. We talked about deferring the WCID deferring the water plant expansion project, which greatly affected revenues and expenditures in the water and sewer fund. And then we had some minor revisions, carryover purchase orders, things like that that we forgot and we needed to add. And we've done that as well. So where you can see those changes, those two items there on the property tax side related to the 58.5 cent tax rate. There you'll see the $50,000 is for the $40,000 that we added to the TERS fund for the Imagine Belton plan. Those water and sewer changes show up there in the proposed budget. Those are the major ones. So after all of that said and done, where we're landing is a proposed annual budget with $43,046,420 in resources and expenditures of $40,867,350. It's time now for public comments on the fiscal 23 proposed budget.
At this time, we would open the public hearing if anyone wishes to speak for or against us. And hearing and seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Return it to council if there are comments or questions for Mr. Rogers.
So I'll call it my John Holmes and Galvanian soapbox. The tug of war over there that used to happen. The resources over under expenditure, so even with all the changes, you're still showing an anticipated 503,000 to go into fund balance if we hit every dollar exactly,
Correct.
correct?
In the general fund, yes.
And on your, what's your formula on using sales tax? Use a slight increase?
I am budgeting a 10% increase over the current number, over the projected number for this year.
A big part of that was there's the fund that we're getting from the national for the
That's right.
COVID relief is how much
That's
of
right.
that?
$900,000 of
So
revenue.
if we were to net that out, this would be
Negative.
400,000.
Correct. That's correct. And I will tell you, everybody knows the Federal Reserve is trying to slow this economy down. So how likely is that 10% increase in sales tax? I wouldn't bring it to you if I wasn't okay putting it there, but there is some downward pressure there. Keep in mind that as this sales tax revenue is increased, a big driver of that is inflation. And those same costs that we're getting the revenue for, we're having to pay higher costs on the expenditure side for city projects and everything else as well. So that's the other side of that sales tax equation.
Any other questions or comments? We'll have to adopt this 1 week from today, 5:30 in the same location. But if there's anybody else, Craig, did you have any comment? Or don't want to exclude you.
I appreciate it. I think we've got it about right. Let's nail it next week.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, then we will move on to the next item. And we will adopt the tax rate next week at this time, hopefully. Item 7, to set a date, time, and place for the meeting to adopt the fiscal year 2023 proposed annual budget for the city of Belton. The budget adoption is scheduled for the city council meeting September 13th, 2022, 5:30 PM in this location. We do need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to set the time and the place for the adoption of the budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. See you here again next week at 5:30. Item 8, to conduct a public hearing on the FY 2023 proposed ad valorem tax rate of 0.5850 per 100 of taxable value, which is effectively 4.6% increase in the tax rate. Mr. Rogers.
Okay, now we've talked budget. Let's have a public hearing on the tax rate. Again, on the 9th of August, City Council proposed a tax rate of 58.5 cents per $100 of taxable value. That rate exceeds the no new revenue rate of 55.94, but it's lower than the voter approval rate of 61.96, which means we need to have a public hearing before we adopt. So this chart here, you've seen before. So let me see if I can do this to bring your eyes to some things. So this column you see here is the current year, tax year. We have a 63-cent tax rate. And the property values for this current year is $1,542 million. That brings in at 63 cents a total levy of 9.7 million. Just over 7 million of that went to O&M. A little over 1 million of that went to debt service. Now, if we compare that to this column you see here, our values are now $1,848 million, and TERS is 305 of that. So at 58.5, our total tax levy grows by just over $1 million to 10,811,404. The general fund side grows by $762,000 to 7.8 million. The debt service grows by 129,000 to $1.1 million. The interesting comparison is when you compare that number to this number, the average tax value in 2021 was $210,594. That home value increased to $240,103 in 22. So it's 58.5 cents. The average taxpayer would pay $78 more in 2022 for 2022 tax year than they did last year. This increase that you see here was $110 increase in 2021. So what I wanted to kind of show you now is how does that look compared to other surrounding entities? These are the various tax entities in our location, BISD, Bell County, and then some comparing comparable cities, surrounding cities. This column here is the rate that they approved in 2021. This is the rate that's been approved if it's an A, or proposed if it's a P. For 2022, this column is the dollar change in pennies, if you will, from 21 to 22, and that's the percentage change from 21 to 22. These columns here are more kind of informational. The no new revenues for each of those entities, voter approval rate in each of those entities. This one is more eye-catching, and that's how much does 1 cent bring to those entities if they were to increase or decrease by a penny. And you can see for us, we're the lowest of that area of surrounding, right? Where we bring in $184,000 with each penny. You can compare that to, say, a Bell County brings in 2.6 million with 1 penny. Also kind of wanted to show you what the tax rate would be for a city of Belton resident. Would pay a total tax rate of $2.26. A Temple resident who's in the Temple ISD would pay $2.41 compared to city of Belton. And if those Temple residents are close enough to Belton ISD that they're in Belton ISD, they'll be paying even higher. So our tax rate remains comparable with other cities. Now is the time for public comments and questions for council. I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mike. At this time, we will open the public hearing. Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any further discussion from council members?
I think we have a work session towards the end to discuss the budget and this. So I'll say, but I will say at this point, what's going on in Jackson, I'll have to say, is weighed in on me personally, thinking about that and then driving around Belton and seeing the work that we're doing, both proactively and reactively, because we've had similar issues. Luckily, nothing major has happened. So anyway, I want to say that.
That's a good comment. Those
Go back
folks
to the where you compared Belton to Temple.
That one?
Yeah, to me, I think that's key. I wouldn't want to make it even, or just try to beat somebody by just a little bit. But I think to be that different, that far off, but to me, I feel have better quality of life, better service. I do feel it's important that we have to be able to have enough money, because I was talking to, I think, Gene and somebody else, we serve so many people, outsiders coming in comparatively, 2 interstates. So to see that makes me feel better as well, but to still be able to get what we need to help y'all out on the staff side.
Good point. Any other questions or comments? All right, we don't take action on that tonight. Item 9, we do take action. We'll set a date, time, and place for the meeting to adopt the FY 2023 tax rate. And that will be this time next week, just like the other meeting we just talked about. I need a motion to approve our time and meeting date.
I'll make a motion to approve the time and meeting date and location to adopt the fiscal year 2023 proposed ad valorem tax rate.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And once again, we be here next week to do that. Item 10 is for a work session if needed, and Mayor Pro Tem Lee You have questions or comments in the work session?
Yeah, again, if you look at what our no or the voter approval is like 6-1, I can't remember.
Yeah, 6196.
6196.
Almost.
Yeah, city, Daniel brought up the city temple. I think theirs is 61 something, right? So if we were to go with that, we would be basically the same as temple, and we bring in half per penny that what they bring in. And because of what I'm seeing going on, because the infrastructure needs, because there's part of me that would like to maybe keep our options open, and because I don't want to come to the city staff and say, hey, you're proposing a rate of 58.5 or whatever the number is, and say, I think we should go higher. But I think there's potentially some strategic things in this next year that we might want to look at doing. And then see how things go. We've always lowered our rates when we could. And I just think this year, we just need to think about where we are. We've been investing in our core for the last, I guess, 2 budget cycles. I think it's going well. And to Daniel's point, we exercise a leadership role with the county. We partner with the county very well. We have a lot of resources, both fire and EMS and police on I-35 and 14. And even our parks department, we're really a community park, and we're spending a significant amount there. So anyway, I don't have a proposal, but just from a work session standpoint, I could see us flexing a little bit for this next year. So.
Well, and if I can add to that, as we move through this next year, we can maybe identify some way to, to articulate what that cost or what that even looks like. Impact on things that can put a number to it so that when we have to, there's a narrative around it as well. Did that make sense?
Sure. It sounds like what you're talking about is other potential projects, obviously, to try to stay ahead of some of the issues. I think what you described is something really concerning, certainly the water plant, and certainly working closely with the district. We're trying to do everything we can to stay ahead, and we know that bill is going to come due in the future for what we deferred this year. But in terms of infrastructure that we're responsible for, be it parks or streets or other things, I think the $1 million in streets is going to go a long way to really, put us out there in terms of our abilities, and then other projects. This is not the end of the needs. Obviously, this is one budget. It's one budget cycle. We've emphasized the compensation plan to get us as close to market as we can. We want to try to maintain that. With the council support, we'll do our best to do that. We have not addressed staffing needs significantly, and there's certainly some needs there that we'll have to look at in the future. But other capital things also, this may be a time to look at those as well. And we've increased, at the council's request and suggestion, our capital equipment replacement to try to, again, get to life cycle costs as opposed to just a number out there for future projects. So we believe the budget is a good one. It includes quite a bit, as I tried to describe, but it's not the end. And certainly there are other needs out there that are not addressed that need to be addressed in the future. So I really appreciate your comments and the opportunities that we have. We are so blessed to have the chance to do what we're proposing to do in 23, and then what we're looking at for the future. I think the ARPA money helped quite a bit to kind of, again, kind of ease this path. The economy is a little bit uncertain. As Mike described, the 10% sales tax estimate is we believe sound, but we want to watch it pretty closely. And so at the same time we're watching that, we're looking at the other capital and facility needs that we have to try to be sure we're not just looking one budget, but many budgets ahead, strategically, the 5-year plan, but even beyond that. And so the CIP is really important in that respect as well.
I appreciate everything that's been said, and I would just like to throw out one other wild card too, because there is a legislative session coming up in January. And as we all know, the legislature has not been our biggest supporter in recent years. I don't mean just Belton, but cities in general. And there's a lot of talk about the budget surplus and what the state might do with the budget surplus. And the possibility of putting further restraints on us to be able to raise taxes should we get in a situation that we don't want to be in.
Right.
That we are forced to raise taxes because we've been there before. So I think it's a wonderful situation to be in, that we've been able to catch up with some of the ARPA funds, and we've been able to do some infrastructure things that Lord knows we've been needing to do for 100 years almost on some of those issues. So I'm very pleased with what y'all have done. I'm also very pleased with the council's hard work on this, because there's been a lot of time and as you said, 6 months has flown by because it's been so much fun, but I appreciate everyone on the council's input and their concern for trying to be frugal, but to get things done.
Right.
So any
Mayor,
other
if I may,
work session?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I certainly agree with all that's been said at this point. We've got to plan for those bigger costs in the future and not end up in such a horrible position as we see in it with Jackson, Mississippi, et cetera. But I also think we've got to be very, very serious about our staffing needs. My understanding is that this tax rate and this budget allows us to add 2 additional police officers at mid-year. And I think that's essential. And that still doesn't get us anywhere close to where we need to be, but it's a step in the right direction. And like we have driven a stake in the ground to $1 million a year for streets, I think we also have to drive a stake in the ground for a couple of new police officers each year. And there's other staffing needs as well. I'm just most familiar with those, but they're not the only ones. To take care of our folks and to maintain the safety and security of our city and to retain our people so that they're not having to work ridiculous hours and ridiculous shifts. So I hope we'll put that in there too as we look this year at what our rates should be in future years. Thank you.
Greg. Any other comments? If there are no other comments, 6:26, this meeting is adjourned.
Wow. That was a pretty fast budget meeting.
Compared to some of we have,
Yeah.
it's a miracle.
It's great. It's great.